brother-in-law would come home from the mines and he was just black, I mean, the little eyes, around his eyelids, and just covered with the dust. He could walk off, but heaven knows what his lungs looked like.
Yeah.
You don't wash.
Oh.
Hard, dirty job.
Yeah.
Well, what else am I going to ask about here? What was when you were growing up? What would have been your idea of a treat or something special or different?
Well, once in a while, my father would go into a village to lodge where he was in, and sometimes at Christmas time he would get an orange or something, and that was a big treat.
Orange,
yeah. And my grandfather, when he would ride up on his tiny was another treat.
Now, the nearest town or village, where there would be a general store and, a telegraph.
For a while, there was a Milam family living across the road and out on the next farm where your dad was born.
Yeah.
And they had, for a while, they had a store in they had some dry goods. It wasn't that much.
Really? Huh.
But they had some cloth and some scissors and, thread, a few things like that. But to...
so you're 7-Eleven of the farm country.
but that wasn't much and not for long. We had to go to Camden, Richwood, or Summersville, 15 miles, which doesn't seem like 15 miles, but if you were walking or riding a horse or a wagon, pulling a wagon, that's what you had to do.
It's an all day.
It's an all day
affair.
Yeah.
Was there anywhere, where was the nearest place that had a movie house?
We didn't have a movie house.
You didn't have a movie house
that I know of.
When did you? Would your first movie have been in Charleston or something?
Yes, that's
Now you left home to go work your way through not college like a few people do today, but through high school.
Right. Yeah,
because the nearest high school was too far away. To go back and forth every day.
Right.
And how far away was it?
It was 15 miles, 17 miles, I guess. And you had to walk to get there. And then stay. I usually came home Christmas time once, and then back, And
so you were now
4 years.
Now you started this around the age of 12, is that right? Or,
no.
13 or 14?
Might have been 14, I'm not
14. Sure. And to work your way through, you're working with some family as sort of like
a babysitting a family that owned the hardware, and she could use some extra help, so I helped her wash, in addition, take care of 3 kids she had, and
still go to school.
The housework and not go to school.
And now this was this Summersville? Or?
Summersville.
It was in Summersville. And then from there on to nursing school. In Charleston.
That was 3 years more.
3 years more. Now, what did your parents or your dad try to discourage you or others from going off to going away to school?
They weren't in favor.
Because they were afraid you weren't coming back. Probably.
Right.
It has struck me as sort of a two-sided thing, as having a big farm family. On the one hand, by growing your own food, basically, you can sort of support that family with relatively little cash.
Right.
At the same time, you sort of need a big family to run a farm.
Yes,
you know,
you did.
it was sort of like your own workforce.
Yeah, that's
in a
right.
sense, work crew anyway.
And with our family, of course, the first part of the family, we were all girls, and that was bad because what they wanted was boys to help on the farms.
Yeah.
So since they didn't get that, I always and some of the others worked in the fields, you know, and I didn't get to do the things at the house.
Even there, yeah, it's one of the things. Although you're renowned with all your friends for your cooking, but you didn't learn how to cook really on the farm.
I didn't know how to cook at all when I got married.
Which is,
you know,
I mean,
had to,
given how self-reliant everything was, that sounds odd, but that's because you were out working in the fields and doing the man's work, the men's work.
That's right. Now, your Aunt Osie she was at the house more, and she learned how to spin. She could spin, and she could do all sorts of things, you know, knit and crochet and sew and stuff like that. So.
Did people tell stories much, or tell jokes, or old tales of things, or not? Did they read? Were there many books around to read on the farm?
There weren't many books around. Occasionally you would get a hold of one. I remember how I first thought that I wanted to get out of that area. I read Zane Grey's Riders of the Purple Sage, and I would work real hard, fast, to get through my hoeing that row of corn. I'd get to the end, and I'd read a little bit, and then I would go, you know, back and forth. And of course, when we went to school, we had some books. But that book, I remember it told about what it was like out west, you know, and all this picture. And so I thought, well, you know, there's something beyond these
hills.
These hills, you know.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you what either your recollection or your impression of other people, how they related to the rest of the world, or how they thought they fit in. I mean,
I don't think they knew the rest of the world hardly. You know, it seems as though they were just in that settled down, and that was it, and they didn't go beyond.
Which, and I don't. When I asked that question, I'm not putting that down, because in one sense they had a big universe there of all these animals and plants and the skills that they had to have from growing and their own food and making their own clothes and doing everything, fending for themselves. I mean, that's very impressive in and of itself.
People make fun, you know, of the hillbillies and the people, but they were not stupid people.
No.
You know, they really were pretty. A lot of them were energetic, and a lot of them are. You had to have ingenuity, and you had to be inventive to survive and to provide for your family and all. So I have pretty much a great deal of respect for somebody that can.
But then at the same time, geographically, because of the mountains, and there wasn't high-speed, easy transportation. There wasn't telephones and TV and radio and all that, so that, or the communications that we have today, so it was isolated
Right.
from a lot of other things.
You didn't have TV and stuff bringing that outside world into, you know, and if you were going to get it, you had to go out, and it was not an easy thing to do. An awful lot of people wouldn't put forth the effort. In fact, I remember how hard it was to go away from home and be away from your family and your brothers and sisters, and
To be totally on your own,
Yeah.
you know, at 14, in a sense, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't like a weekend trip or even
No.
5 days a week or 8 hours a day. You went away for months at a time.
Right.
Complete break.
Yeah. And see, an awful lot of people, if they started out to do that, they didn't stay with it. You know?
Now, I know from Dad's family and your family, I mean, it seemed to me among the three major occupations, I mean, there were the farming and the mining, and a fair number of people who went into school teaching.
Yeah.
To stay in the area, those three main things. Be some other jobs, of course, but and then for others who went beyond geographically into some other career, and I don't know how that fits in with, you know, working women today. And so, I mean, you were working, you were a working girl, you know, as a young person. So you always worked on the farm, and then training as a nurse and becoming a nurse. I don't know if that didn't seem, you know, you weren't thinking of just women are just homemakers, so not only homemakers. There wasn't any real distinction that way.
No, I think that I liked helping people, and I liked nursing as itself. It wasn't almost work because I loved it so much. It's one of the things that I hated to give up. You know, it was very hard for me to give that up and to get married. And of course, back in those times, when you got married, if you got married,
then you went home.
you weren't supposed to nurse.
Yeah.
It wasn't ethical because you were taking a job away from somebody who was married.
I see.
So you ethically you didn't do that. You know.
Oh, I didn't realize. So that you would be in competition with a single woman,
Right.
and that wouldn't be fair to take away her
that's
job.
right.
I see.
Yeah. And I think most of the nurses, they honored that, you know. That was just the way it was.
And then we run into a big nursing shortage a few years ago, you know.
Yeah.
They hire from all over the world.
Right.
Well, let's see. I'm looking down my little list of things here. We sort of covered a lot of territory, and I know it's past your bedtime. But this was sort of a lot of fun. I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know already. And of course, that's just sort of a first chapter, really. I mean, a big first chapter. But from then you were did get married, and we're off from West Virginia to New York State, which is quite a big leap. And the first church was near Buffalo, in Springville, right? Springville.
Buffalo.
And from there to Rensselaer, next to Albany. And from there to Cambridge, Ohio.
Right.
And then to Rochester. And to Lowell. And then retiring here in Henrietta. And made a lot of trips besides, overseas and
Right.
around the country, and drove to Alaska, and
Right.
did all kinds of stuff that you never even knew existed when you were growing up on the farm.
when your dad was putting on this big campaign that we should get married, and I didn't want to. He sent the last year in my, I got one out of the whole year in nursing. So it was a 12-month deal. We got 1 week, and so
vacation, you mean?
1 week vacation.
Oh.
So he sent me a round-trip ticket for Greyhound bus to come from Charleston to Colgate, Rochester, where he was working that summer.
Right.
So I came up and spent a week there, and I went back and finished, and I graduated 1 week, and he graduated the next, and we got married the next.
A lot of big events in that June, I guess it was June, right? Now, when you went from Summersville to Charleston, and Charleston was a pretty fair-sized place, right? I mean,
right. Capital of the state.
Was that the first time when you saw big buildings, really, and you know, tall buildings, and the state legislature, the state capitol, whatever it was, and big railroad stations?
Well, I had gone from, actually, I had, let's see, I was in Clay County. I was, when you got through high school, I thought I could, you know, get a job and graduate from high school. It was something. But when I graduated from high school, I couldn't get anything to do.
Really?
No.
This has been about what year? Was this Depression time?
1933.
Oh boy, so
and I couldn't get a job in a dime store or anything, and I found out in Clay County there was somebody. I started working. My uncle, Mom's brother, found out that this family that he knew had 7 kids, and she was sick, and they needed somebody to do the housework and take care of the kids and stuff. And I went there at $2 a week and my room and board, and I had to have $75 to get into nursing training, so I had to save that $75. And so I stayed with them until she got well, and then a nurse, county health nurse, had one daughter who was 10 years old, and she needed somebody to be there because her husband was in the state hospital institution. She couldn't hardly get anybody because of that, and because he would come home weekends, and people were afraid. So she said that he wasn't dangerous or anything, and if I would come, she would give me $3 a week. That was a big grace. So I went, and of course it was easier work, and she was a very nice person. And so she wanted, she knew I wanted to be a nurse, you know. And so she took me down to Charleston for my interview and stuff. And I was able, this man came home. It didn't bother me at all. He seemed, he said, "Are you afraid of men?" I said, "I'm not afraid." He acted very nice. I don't know what was wrong with him, but
you couldn't tell.
Couldn't tell. He seemed like, but she was helpful, and
I've certainly known plenty of other people who were a little bit kooky, who should have been getting some sort of treatment.
Right. And I got my $75, you know, saved.
Yeah,
and I went.
It's a big deal.
And then after you got in there for 3 months, you didn't get anything. And then after that, you got $5 a month. and I was able to live on that.
But that must have been hard too, taking all these courses in science.
We had part of our courses was with Mountain State. There was a college there, and part of it we went there for that. But a lot of it was given by the doctors or there at the hospital. So, but it was like 12 months. It was really, I think it was equal to almost a college education in a way. We had psychology, we had different things the same. And by being 12 months instead of 9, it was like almost a 4-year thing, that you would be going to school. But it was, and we studied at night, and it was not easy. 12 hours, we were 12 from 7 to 7. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of all the different things, and they're still happening throughout your lifespan, that, whether it was the proliferation of the automobile and development of aviation, planes, jets, international travel, and TV and radio, modern atomic bomb, World War II, the Korean War, the Depression, space travel, going to the moon, all of the rise and fall of communism and everything. I just wonder how, when you were going through it, did you have a sense of the momentous events taking place, or was it just one more novelty after another that you were?
No, I guess mostly now it seems as though natural things evolved all the time, and one step after another, and I wasn't really affected, I guess you would say, by all of that stuff. But now I think of how many good people I've been associated with, and good people doing, maybe a part of it's church, but part of it was before that, like this county health nurse. She was helpful to me, she didn't have to do this. And I kind of feel like now that the world isn't as good. I hear and see all these things that people are doing, drugs and killing and so forth, and it just seems so much worse, like it's not...
Materially, we're better off.
Yes.
Too much so. I mean, we have garage sales to get rid of stuff that we don't know what to do with anymore.
Right.
And so on.
But
and yet people are not treating each other the way they should. And also not treating the planet the way they should be.
And people think I'm stupid for raising a garden when I could go out and buy it, but I get some kind of satisfaction out of raising my own and doing my own stuff. And
it tastes better
it's not because I have to do that.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Don't you do that anymore? But it's...
I think it's a better way. A better way. Well, I probably about talked you out for one night, and I know you're a little camera shy.
Yeah.
But this is really more for the story and This will be fun.
Yeah.
The kids, Sammy and David, are in bed now and asleep, and they wanted to watch this, but I knew that they would be jumping in front of the camera and who knows what else. But I said, well, you can watch this when we get home, and you can hear what Grandma said, and I know they'll get a kick out of it. We'll make some copies for David and George and
that's nice.
anybody
Thank
else who
you.
would like it, because I
Thank
think
you.
they will. So thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Okay. See if it still says recording.